The vast chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in their towering seats, their eyes fixed on the giant star map floating above the center floor. The map glowed red. System after system blinked out. Entire fleets had been destroyed. Entire planets burned. The swarm was unstoppable. An old Velen delegate, his silver crest drooping low, whispered into the silence. Hope is gone. The war is lost. Other voices followed. The Ilari queen folded her wings tightly and muttered, "We must surrender. At least some of our people may survive." The council's tall spire shook with the sound of fear. Across the stars, billions watched the live broadcast. The galaxy's greatest civilizations all admitting defeat. But in the shadows of the chamber, a lone human stood still. Her dark eyes burned with fire. Admiral Mara Sayeed of Earth, dressed in a simple Navy uniform, listened to their words. Around her, alien diplomats sneered. Humanity was new to the council. Young, fragile, untested, a corps general hissed. "What say the humans? Do you also surrender?" Mara rose slowly from her seat. The chamber hushed. Her voice carried across the hall. "You may have lost hope. Humanity has not." The council erupted in disbelief. A Zell commander laughed bitterly. "Your people are weak. Your fleets are small. What can you do that we could not?" Mara's eyes narrowed. "We do not measure victory in the same way you do. To you, surrender brings survival. To us, surrender is death." The aliens shouted in anger and mockery. Madness. Arrogance. Humans do not understand war. But Mara's voice cut through the noise. Understand this. Humanity does not fight only when victory is certain. We fight because we refuse to kneel. As long as the heart beats, we fight. Her words echoed, sharp and unyielding. Some aliens stared in shock. Others shook their heads. To them, it was foolishness. To Mara, it was truth. Before the council could reply, the great chamber's walls flickered. A transmission cut through the debate. Screens lit up across the galaxy. A voice crackled, cold and desperate. "This is Commander Elric of the Vare Front. Our fleet is gone. The swarm approaches Earth. They will arrive within weeks." Gasps spread through the chamber. Earth's homeworld of humanity was marked for destruction. The Ilari queen closed her wings over her face. "It is over then. Even humanity will fall." Mara clenched her fists. "Not while we live." But the transmission wasn't finished. Static cleared, and a final image appeared. A vast black field of stars. And then movement. Gigantic warships stirred in the shadows of an asteroid belt. Their hulls were blackened to hide from scanners. Their engines glowed faintly. They had been hidden known even to the council. Whispers filled the chamber. "What are those?" Impossible. Humans had only a small fleet. Those ships, they were never on our records. Mara turned to face the alien leaders. "You thought we were fragile? You thought we were unprepared? But humanity remembers every war, every invasion, every time the galaxy laughed at us. We learned in silence. We built in secret." The star map changed. One by one, massive human dreadnoughts came online. Their names appeared in glowing letters: Vigilant, Iron Dawn, Resolute, Fury of Earth. Aliens stared in disbelief. Entire hidden fleets. Warships designed for one purpose: to fight when no hope remained. Mara raised her chin, her voice hard as steel. "You say the war is lost. We say this war has only begun." But as the words echoed, the chamber's lights flickered again. A new transmission forced its way onto the council's screens. The image was blurry, but clear enough to freeze every heart. A swarm fleet 10,000 ships strong was already moving. Their path was direct. Their destination, unmistakable. Earth, the council chamber fell into silence. Every alien I turned toward the human admiral. Some were wide with pity, others with cruel satisfaction. Mara did not flinch. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes burned brighter than before. The swarm's shadow was coming for humanity's homeworld. The galaxy believed the end was certain. But Mara whispered, barely loud enough for the recording devices to catch. Then we will show you what it means. When humanity refuses to surrender, the broadcast cut to static. Across the galaxy, citizens whispered in fear and disbelief. Alien leaders argued. And far away, in the darkness of space, Earth's hidden fleet began to awaken their engines, glowing like the first sparks of a coming storm. The galaxy did not. Believe it, across 1,000 worlds. Beings crowded around flickering holoscreens, staring in shock. They saw what had been hidden for years, human warships enormous and silent, rising from the shadows of an asteroid belt. The ships were not like the fleets of the Council. These were dark, brutal, angular giants, their hulls armored with layered plating, their cores built for one purpose: survival through fire. On the largest of them, the Dreadnought. Vigilant soldiers in gray-blue uniforms strapped into combat chairs. The deck shook as massive engines powered up, sending deep vibrations through the hull. Captain Robert Chen, second in command to Admiral Mara Sayeed, stood before the crew. His voice was steady, calm, but his eyes betrayed the weight of the moment. You have seen the broadcasts, he said. The galaxy has lost hope. But we are humanity, and humanity does not surrender. A murmur swept through the soldiers. Many were young, their hands trembling, their faces pale. But their voices rose together in a chant that filled the steel corridors. As long as the heart beats, humanity fights. The words echoed like thunder. Deep within the fleet, engineers worked feverishly, checking weapons and shield cores. Massive missile bays opened, glowing faint orange from the heat of stored warheads. Plasma lances came online, humming with deadly energy. The hidden fleet had been waiting for this moment for the war. Everyone else had already given up, but shadows moved in silence, unseen by the crew. Small alien craft clung to the dark side of the asteroids. Their hulls shimmered with stealth fields, almost invisible. Inside, alien saboteurs spoke in hushed tones. The humans should never have been allowed to rise this far, one growled. We finished them here, before their fleet can fly. They carried strange black devices pulsing cubes of unstable energy. Weapons designed not to destroy ships with fire, but to burn out their hearts, their systems, their power, their very lifeblood. Back on the Vigilant, Captain Chen studied the tactical screen. Something gnawed at him. Status report, he barked. All clear, replied the sensor officer. But there was hesitation in his voice, though there are gaps in our scans. Interference from the asteroid belt? Chen's eyes narrowed. Recalibrate. Triple-check every shadow. Before the officer could respond, a sudden tremor rocked the ship. Lights flickered. Sirens screamed. Saboteurs! A soldier shouted. We have boarders. Panic spread as explosions echoed through the shipyard. Hidden craft detached from the asteroids, diving toward the fleet. Alien infiltrators breached the hulls with glowing cutters. The corridors of the Vigilant filled with chaos. Human soldiers raised rifles, exchanging fire with the saboteurs. Sparks and smoke turned the hallways into hell. Captain Chen sprinted through the chaos, his pulse hammering in his ears. He turned a corner and froze. One of the saboteurs stood in the shadows, holding a black pulsing device. Its glow lit up his twisted alien face. The saboteur hissed in a guttural voice, "You should have surrendered. Now you burn with us all." Chin raised his weapon. "Drop it." But the alien's claw pressed deeper into the device. The glow intensified. The deck beneath Chen's boots shook violently. On the command bridge, Admiral Mara's voice rang out. "All units, this is not a drill. Protect the fleet at all costs. Humanity must fly." The cameras of hidden news drones, still circling, captured everything. Across the galaxy, audiences who had mocked humanity now watched in silence. Soldiers and civilians alike leaned forward, unable to look away. Back in the corridor, Chen lunged forward, slamming into the saboteur. They crashed against the wall, the device spinning between them. The alien snarled, teeth bared. Chen struggled, his hand gripping the weapon, pushing it away from the ship's power core. The device shrieked, energy spiking. Red arcs of lightning jumped across the corridor walls. Too late, the alien growled. The device lit up its pulse, racing outward like a spreading wave on every ship of the hidden fleet. Screens went black. Engines died. Weapons silenced. Lights faded. From the outside, the One's mighty war fleet hung still, silent and cold. In the council chambers, alien leaders gasped in triumph. Fools, one shouted. The humans are broken before the battle even begins. But in the darkness of the fleet, Captain Chen, his face bloodied and breath ragged, still gripped the device with both hands. Sparks bit into his skin, his voice hoarse but unbroken. Whispered words he knew would be carried through the fleet's intercom, even in silence, as long as the heart beats. Humanity fights. The words echoed into the void. The galaxy saw it. Earth's mighty hidden fleet drifting powerless, dead in space. Saboteurs celebrated, believing victory. But in the final shot, one warship's lights flickered, then glowed faintly. Brighter and brighter, as if a heart was still beating. The fleet drifted in silence. Once, the humans' hidden armada had glowed like a rising storm. Now, it hung in darkness, lifeless in the shadow of the asteroid belt. Across the galaxy, watchers leaned closer to their holoscreens, whispering that humanity's stand was already over. On the bridge of the dreadnought Vigilant, emergency lanterns flickered dim red. Consoles were dead, engines cold, weapons offline. Officers struggled in the shadows, their voices sharp with panic. They've shut us down completely. One shouted, "Power core's unresponsive." Another cried. Admiral Mara Sayeed stood tall at the center, her face half lit by the glow of dying lights. Her expression did not falter. "Calm yourselves. We are not finished." But inside her chest, she felt the crushing weight of silence. The fleet was crippled. The swarm was coming. And the galaxy watched, in a smoke-filled corridor deep inside the ship. Captain Robert Chen still wrestled with the alien saboteur. The black device pulsed between their hands, spitting sparks that burned into the steel walls. The alien's eyes glowed with cruel victory. "Your ships are corpses. Your people are doomed." Chen's arms trembled. His lungs burned. Yet his voice came out steady. "You don't understand us," the alien snarled, pressing harder. "What is there to understand?" Chen forced the device upward, his face straining. "That we never fight with only one heart." With a roar, he slammed the saboteur's claw away, driving the device into the wall. The alien shrieked as arcs of red lightning swallowed him, body dissolving into smoke. Chen fell back, coughing, his uniform scorched, but the device clattered to the deck. Lifeless. For a moment, the silence was unbearable. Then, faintly, deep beneath the hull, Chen heard it a hum, low and steady, back on the bridge. The crew gasped as one console flickered alive. Then another. Then another. "Admiral," cried the engineer. "Backup systems are engaging." Mara's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. The ghosts. The aliens watching across the council chambers frowned in confusion. "What are ghosts?" Mara spoke clearly, so her words carried through every hidden broadcast. "When humanity builds, we build with failure in mind. For every heart you destroy, another waits beneath it. Our ships have ghost systems buried, hidden, impossible to reach. You thought we were dead? You were wrong." The lights blazed brighter. Engines roared back to life. The silence of the fleet was broken by the rising thunder of awakening ships, but the saboteurs were not finished. On smaller destroyers scattered across the fleet, alien infiltrators still fought, cutting down human defenders with brutal precision. Blood stained the steel corridors. Fires raged unchecked. On the ship Resolute, a saboteur planted a second device near the reactor core. The crew fought desperately to reach him, but he hissed into his communicator, If the fleet rises again, it will rise only to die in fire. He slammed his claw into the device. The Resolute shook violently, a bright surge of energy ripping through its decks. For a moment, the ship looked like it would tear apart. On the Vigilant, alarms screamed again. Secondary detonations detected across the fleet. Mara's jaw tightened. So they choose death. Then we answer with life. She turned to Chen, who stumbled onto the bridge. His face blackened with smoke, but his eyes still sharp. "Captain," she said, "we hold the fleet together, or we lose everything." Chen coughed, straightened, and nodded. "Then we don't break." Mara's voice cut across the comms, broadcast to every surviving human ship. "Listen to me. They think we are fragile. They think we surrender. Prove them wrong. Seal your decks. Purge the infiltrators. And remember, as long as the heart beats, humanity fights." Her words ignited the crews like fire through dry grass. In corridor after corridor, human soldiers fought with desperate fury. Knives clashed with claws. Rifles flared in the darkness. Men and women bled, but they did not fall back. Even as fires spread and oxygen burned thin, they pushed forward. On the Resolute, a young engineer hurled himself onto the pulsing device, wrapping it in a containment shield. The explosion was muffled, the ship scarred but still alive. His name would never be known, but his sacrifice bought humanity another chance. The galaxy watched. Stunned, alien leaders whispered, "They should be dead. They should be broken. How can they still fight?" And yet the human fleet, battered and bleeding, began to move again. Engines flared. Hulls glowed with heat. Dreadnoughts turned their cannons toward the void, but then a shadow fell across the star map. A new transmission forced its way into every channel. Static cleared, revealing a sight that froze the council, the fleets. The citizens of every world, the swarm had arrived. Thousands of ships filled the void, their hulls black and glistening like the shells of insects. Their formations spread wide, a tidal wave of death. And at their center, a colossal vessel unlike anything the galaxy had seen alive, pulsating, carrying the presence of their queen. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Mara's eyes locked on the sight. Around her, the crew fell into silence. The hidden human fleet had barely survived sabotage. Many ships burned. Many soldiers bled, and now the real enemy was here. As the swarm's vast armada unfolded across the stars, a psychic voice entered every mind in the fleet. "You cannot win." Mara's hands clenched into fists. Her whisper cut through the fear. "Then we will teach you what it means." To fight humanity, the void burned red. The swarm's armada stretched across the stars like a living wall. Thousands of insect-like ships, their black hulls glistening, closed around the human fleet. Their movements were perfect, no hesitation, no fear, only hunger. Across the galaxy, alien worlds watched the live broadcast. Citizens whispered in dread, "The humans are finished. No one can stand against the Queen." Inside the Vigilant, Admiral Mara Sayeed stood at the command rail. Her crew stared at her, their faces pale under the crimson glow of warning lights. The enemy's psychic voice still echoed in their skulls. "You cannot win." For a moment, silence ruled the bridge. Then Mara lifted her chin. "Crew of the Vigilant," she said, her voice steady. "The galaxy thinks we are already dead. The swarm believes we will kneel. But you know the oath of Earth. Speak it." At first, only one voice rose, then another, and another, until the entire bridge shook with the thunder of their chant. "As long as the heart beats, humanity fights." The oath roared through the comm channels, carried into every ship of the hidden fleet. Even wounded soldiers bleeding in dark corridors whispered it through broken lips. Even engineers trapped under debris muttered it as they worked. It was not just words. It was defiance made flesh. The aliens watching from the council chambers fell silent. Many had mocked humanity as fragile. Now they shivered at the sound of their vow. On the Vigilant, Captain Robert Chen gave the order. "Bring the ghost systems online. Fire up every core. Humanity does not drift, we charge." Engines flared to life, brighter than before. The fleet's dreadnoughts turned, their cannons warming, their missile bays opening. The silence of despair was gone, replaced by the sound of war. Across the line, swarm ships answered. Their weapons ignited, a million green sparks in the void. The Queen's voice pressed into every mind again. Your defiance is meaningless. You are prey. But this time, humanity did not stagger. They answered with fire. The first clash shook the stars. Human dreadnoughts unleashed. Plasma lances that tore through the black carapace of swarm cruisers. Missiles streaked in glowing trails, bursting insect ships apart in clouds of burning fragments. But the swarm hit back harder. Wave after wave of drones slammed into human hulls, their claws ripping through armor. Explosions ripped across destroyer decks. Men and women screamed as fire spread. On the Resolute, a swarm drone punched into the bridge. A young officer drew his sidearm and fired until the barrel smoked, his last bullet piercing the drone's core. He fell with a smile, whispering the oath as his ship held its line. Back on the Vigilant, Mara's voice rang over the chaos. Hold steady. Push them back. Show the galaxy that Earth does not break. The fleet obeyed. For every human ship that burned, 10 swarm vessels were shattered in reply. But the Queen was watching. From the center of her colossal vessel, her psychic will surged. For the first time, her voice spoke directly to Mara. Your strength is wasted. You are a candle burning against the night. I will snuff you out, and your people will beg for mercy. Mara's fists clenched at her sides. She whispered so only her crew could hear. Candles may be small, but they light the dark. Then the Queen unleashed her weapon. The colossal swarm ship pulsed. And from its core, a beam of pure destructive energy tore across the battlefield. A human cruiser, Iron Dawn, had no chance. The beam cut through its shields, its hull splitting apart in a blinding flash. Hundreds of souls vanished in an instant. On the Vigilant, shock spread. Soldiers froze, staring at the wreckage of their comrades drifting like ash dot. The Queen's voice laughed in their minds. This is the fate of all who resist. For a moment, the humans wavered. Even Chen's voice caught in his throat. But Admiral Mara did not allow silence to linger. Her voice thundered across every channel. They want us to fear. They want us to kneel. But hear me now. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity fights. She slammed her fist into the command rail. Target the Queen's vessel. All ships prepare for full assault. The galaxy gasped. No other species had ever dared strike directly at the Queen's ship. It was unthinkable. It was suicide, but the human fleet obeyed. Missile bays opened. Cannons aligned. Plasma lances glowed hot. The hidden warfleet of Earth turned as one to face the heart of the swarm. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Mara stood tall, eyes fixed on the enemy. If we burn, she whispered, burn, showing them what humanity is. The Queen's massive vessel pulsed again, its energy gathering for another devastating beam. At the same time, the entire human fleet unleashed everything missiles, Lance's torpedoes firing straight into the abyss, the screen filled with fire. The void itself seemed to break, and then the transmission cut to static across the galaxy. No one knew, had humanity struck a killing blow, or had the Queen burned Earth's last hope. The galaxy held its breath. The last broadcast had cut to static, leaving billions staring at blank holoscreens, terrified that humanity's hidden fleet had been burned to ash. In the council chambers, alien leaders whispered nervously, their voices shaking. Surely it is over. No one survives the Queen's beam. Then the signal returned. The void lit up with fire. Dozens of swarm vessels, torn apart by human missiles, drifted in flames. The wreckage glowed red against the stars, silent proof that humanity had struck back. But the cost was clear. Human ships floated, broken, hulls burning, life pods scattering like sparks into the void. The dreadnought Resolute had lost half its crew. The destroyer Iron Dawn was gone completely. Only debris left behind. Yet in the middle of it all, the Vigilant still stood. Admiral Mara Sayeed's voice rang across the fleet. We are still here. And as long as we live, The fight is not finished. The oath spread again through every ship. As long as the heart beats, humanity fights. Soldiers, engineers, even wounded medics whispered it. The galaxy heard their defiance and shivered. On the swarm's colossal flagship, the Queen observed. Her enormous living vessel pulsed with veins of green fire, her psychic presence pressing into the minds of both humans and aliens alike. She hissed, her words crawling into their thoughts. You fight like insects, biting the hand of a god. You cannot imagine the strength you face. On the Vigilant. Mara pressed her palms into the command rail, sweat on her brow, but her voice remained calm. Gods bleed too. The battle raged on. Human dreadnoughts broke formation, charging directly into the swarm lines. Plasma lances tore across insect hulls, slicing them in half. Gun batteries lit up like suns. One cruiser rammed straight through a swarm cluster, exploding in white fire and taking hundreds of enemies with it. But the swarm adapted quickly. They swarmed in endless waves, crawling over human hulls, cutting into armor with burning claws. Boarding parties pierced decks. Screams filled the corridors as soldiers fought room to room. On the Resolute, Captain Ishan Verma swung a steel pipe when his rifle failed, smashing through the skull of a drone that had broken into engineering. Bloodied and gasping, he rallied his crew with one word: fight. The galaxy's watchers couldn't look away. The broadcasts showed close-ups of human soldiers' faces covered in soot and blood, eyes burning with something alien races did not understand. Fear was there, yes, but stronger than fear was something else. Refusal. On one alien world. Child asked her father, why do they keep fighting when they should already be dead? The father had no answer. Back on the battlefield, the Swarm Queen unleashed her power again. A psychic shockwave rippled outward, slamming into the human fleet. Men and women dropped to their knees, clutching their heads, screams tearing through coms. Entire ships drifted out of formation, pilots unable to steer. The Queen's voice filled their minds. You are children. You are fragile. You will break. But then, through the agony, another voice rose. Dr. Alara Miles, the fleet's chief scientist, broadcast on an open channel. No, humanity bends, but it does not break. She activated a device built in secret on Earth-an experimental resonance generator. A deep hum filled the void, countering the Queen's psychic wave. The soldiers felt the pressure lift, the pain weaken. Hope returned like breath after drowning. The Queen recoiled in surprise. For the first time, her psychic calm cracked. Admiral Mara seized the moment. All ships target the Queen's vessel. Fire everything. The fleet roared back to life. Missiles streaked, plasma burned, and torpedoes hammered into the colossal living flagship. Explosions rippled across its surface, tearing holes in its black carapace. The galaxy gasped. No species had ever dared strike the Queen directly. Humanity had done it, but victory was far away. The Queen's laughter shook every soul. Her massive vessel split open, revealing a glowing core pulsing with green fire. It swelled like a star about to erupt. She will burn us all, Chen whispered, eyes wide. Mara's voice remained steady. Then we meet fire with fire. The Queen's flagship unleashed a colossal surge of energy, brighter than any sun. The Vigilant's shield screamed, cracking under the pressure. One by one, human ships shattered under the blast as the light consumed the battlefield. The final image burned across the galaxy. Mara Sayeed, standing unflinching on her bridge, whispering, "If this is our last stand, let it be the one they never forget." And then the feed cut to black. The battlefield was drowned in light, for long. Terrible seconds, the galaxy believed humanity had been erased. The Swarm Queen's colossal blast cut through the void like a burning star, shattering ships, silencing voices. Entire dreadnoughts vanished into ash. The screens across 1,000 worlds showed nothing but fire, and then shadows moved within the flames. The Vigilant emerged, its hull scorched, shields cracked, but still alive. Behind it, battered ships crawled forward, engines coughing, sparks, weapons flickering. Humanity's fleet had not been destroyed. It still fought. Across the galaxy, billions gasped. How? How are they still alive? On the Vigilant's bridge, Admiral Mara Sayeed gripped the rail. Smoke filled the air. Alarm screamed, but her voice cut through the chaos. "Report, shields gone," shouted an officer. "Weapons at 40%. Casualties. Thousands, Admiral." Mara's jaw tightened, but her gaze did not waver. And the fleet. Captain Robert Chen, blood on his cheek, stood firm. "Still here? Still fighting?" Mara's voice dropped to a whisper. "Then we endure." The Queen's voice seeped into their minds again, stronger than before, a poisonous echo that made soldiers tremble. "You survive. But you do not matter. Your resistance is a flame in a storm. I am eternal. You are dust." On alien worlds, countless beings bowed their heads, believing her words. But on Earth, in underground bunkers, children whispered the human oath, defying her even from across the stars. Dr. Alara Miles appeared on the Vigilant's holoscreen, her face pale but determined. "Admiral, the resonance worked." It weakened her voice for a moment. "But it's not enough. We need to amplify Etor. She will tear us apart." Mara asked. Alara hesitated, then spoke. "We must link the resonance generators across the fleet. Turn every ship into one voice. One defiance." Chen frowned. "If we link them, the strain could collapse our systems." Alara's eyes burned. "Then we burn." But we burned, shouting, "No." Mara's decision was instant. "Do it." Across the battered fleet, engineers rerouted power. Sparks rained as conduits overloaded. Soldiers guarded the generators with their lives, even as drones clawed at the walls. One by one, the resonance devices hummed, their voices joining into a single rising wave. The Queen felt it. Her psychic command wavered. For the first time in uncounted ages, her certainty cracked. The human's thoughts, fear, pain, defiance resisted her will. It was not silence. It was a roar. On the bridge, Mara felt the pressure ease. She stood taller, her voice echoing across every ship. "She says we are dust. She says we are nothing. But hear me, ours voice shakes even her. We will not kneel. We will not surrender. Humanity stands." The resonance surged, louder and louder, until the Queen herself recoiled in fury. Her monstrous vessel pulsed. From its core, new weapons unfurled vast spines, glowing with green fire. Alien leaders in the council chambers gasped. That is her true form. The Queen's voice thundered in every skull. "If defiance is all you are, then I will crush defiance itself." The giant spines aligned, forming a ring of blinding energy. Sensors screamed warnings. "She's drawing power from the nearby star." Chen realized, eyes wide. She's going to unleash a starkiller blast. Across the galaxy, billions watched in horror as the star itself began to dim, its light bending toward the Queen's vessel. On Earth, families huddled around screens, watching their sun flicker. Tears rolled down faces, but no one turned away. Children clung to their parents, whispering the oath in trembling voices. On the Vigilant, Mara's voice cut through the fear. "Every ship, intercept that weapon. Even if it means your lives block it, or Earth dies." Her words were not commands. They were truth. Humanity understood. One by one, captains gave the order. Human warships, scarred, smoking, broken turned, their battered hulls toward the incoming blast. Engines flared, pushing them into the line of fire. The first ships were consumed instantly, their names vanishing from the roster. The Resolute, half dead already, hurled itself forward, its captain whispering goodbye before his ship burned white. Another destroyer followed, then another. The galaxy wept as they watched. Aliens had surrendered long before their fleets ever reached this moment. But humanity threw itself into death willingly, simply to protect its home. Chen's voice was low. "We can't hold it. We're losing too many." Mara's face was stone. Her eyes locked on the dimming star. Then we give them everything. The Queen's Starkiller beam erupted, a torrent of light and fire that could end a world. Human ships shattered one after another, their sacrifices slowing the wave, but the beam still pushed forward, burning toward Earth. On the Vigilant, Mara whispered as her ship braced for impact. Hope is not given. It is taken. The screen turned white. The stars burned white. The Queen's Starkiller beam tore through the void like the hand of a god. Human ships, one after another, hurled themselves into its path. Each sacrifice slowed the blast for a heartbeat. Each death bought Earth a moment more. But the beam did not stop. It pressed forward, unstoppable. In the council chambers, alien leaders bowed their heads. It is over, whispered the Ilari Queen. No fleet, no world, no soul survives that fire. But on Earth, no one looked away. Across bunkers, homes, and shelters, humanity watched the skies flicker and whispered their oath. As long as the heart beats, humanity fights. On the dreadnought Vigilant, Admiral Mara Sayeed stood firm. Her ship shook violently, systems failing, metal shrieking, yet her voice cut through the chaos. Status. Shields collapsing, cried an officer. Weapons at 20%. Another shouted, Admiral, if the beam reaches Earth. Mara raised her hand. It will not. Captain Robert Chen looked at her. His face was streaked with blood and soot. His voice was low. Admiral, what are you planning? Mara's gaze did not leave the growing wall of fire. The Vigilant was built for one purpose, to be the shield of Earth. Today fulfills that purpose. Gasps spread across the bridge. Officers realized what she meant. The Vigilant, the flagship of the hidden fleet, would charge into the beam itself. Chen's voice cracked. If we do this, none of us survive. Mara turned to him, her eyes calm but burning with iron. If we fall, then we fall standing. If humanity dies, then it dies, showing the galaxy what we are. There is no greater honor. For a moment, silence hung over the crew. Then one by one, voices rose. We stand. We fight. For Earth, the oath thundered again, louder than ever as long as the heart beats. Humanity fights. The Vigilant roared forward. Engines blazed brighter than suns. Its battered hull creaked as it accelerated into the impossible light. Other surviving ships followed in formation. Throwing themselves alongside their flagship, alien watchers leaned close to their screens, their jaws slack. No species had ever dared charge a Starkiller blast. No species had ever chosen death so willingly, the Ilari Queen whispered, trembling. They are not like us. Inside the beam, reality twisted. Hull plating burned away. Consoles exploded. Soldiers clung to their stations as the Vigilant was swallowed in fire. Chen gripped the rail beside Mara. Admiral, you can't hold. The ship will break apart. Mara's voice was steady, calm in the storm. Then we break, buying Earth one more breath. The resonance generators screamed at maximum power. Their combined hum grew deafening, their vibration rattling every bone. Ilara Miles' voice came through, panicked but fierce. We can redirect it. If the fleet focuses the resonance into the beam, we can distort it, bend it away. Mara seized the chance. All ships, focus resonance now. Give Earth our last breath. Across the battered fleet, dying ships funneled their last power into the generators. The resonance grew louder, a roar that shook the void itself. The Queen felt it, human voices hammering against her psychic will. For the first time in her endless reign, she felt doubt. The beam flickered. Its perfect line wavered. Its edge bent slightly, distorted by the resonance. Earth's blue sphere, glowing fragile in the distance, flickered in and out of its path. But the effort was killing the fleet. Ships overloaded, exploding in silent bursts of fire. The resonance strained, breaking apart. On the Vigilant, sparks rained from the ceiling. Officers were thrown from their stations. Chen shouted over the noise. We can't hold it, Admiral. The ship's tearing apart. Mara stood at the center of the storm, her uniform scorched, her hair wild, her eyes locked on the beam. Her voice cut across every channel, a final command, a final truth. Humanity does not beg. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity endures. The Vigilant surged forward, deeper into the heart of the Starkiller beam. Its hull melted. Its decks collapsed. Yet its engines still roared. It was no longer just a ship. It was the embodiment of Earth's defiance. Blazing spear thrown into the storm, billions watched in stunned silence as the flagship disappeared into the wall of fire. The resonance peaked. The beam bent sharply, just enough to shift its path away from Earth. But at that same moment, the Vigilant was consumed completely, vanishing in the blinding light. The galaxy waited. Was Earth saved, or had humanity's final defense burned away with its flagship? The void was silent. For a long, unbearable moment, the galaxy saw only blinding white light where the Vigilant had vanished. News broadcasts flickered. Alien leaders stared in frozen shock. And billions across the stars whispered the same question. Is Earth gone? The Starkiller beam faded. Space cleared, and there against all odds, Earth still shone. Blue oceans, white clouds, and green lands glimmered like a jewel in the darkness. The beam had missed its mark. Across the galaxy, a wave of disbelief became a roar. They lived. Earth survived. The humans did it. But the victory was not yet complete. The Swarm Queen's colossal vessel still loomed. Though torn and burning from humanity's desperate strike, her psychic voice lashed out in fury, raw and broken. You defy me. But you cannot kill me. I am eternal. Yet her words no longer carried the same crushing weight. The resonance still echoed across the fleet. The human's defiance was louder than her command. For the first time in countless ages, her will faltered. On the Resolute's battered bridge, Captain Nishan Vermahov, his face burned, one arm bound in makeshift bandages, forced himself upright. The Vigilant gave everything. Now we finish this. Other surviving captains echoed the call. One by one, crippled warships turned their weapons toward the Queen. Dr. Alara Miles' voice came over the comms. Weak, but steady. Her core is exposed. If we strike together, we end her. The galaxy watched. Alien leaders leaned forward, silent. Citizens held their breath. For generations, no one had imagined the Queen could bleed, let alone fall. Now, the chance hung before them. The final assault began. What remained of Earth's fleet hurled everything they had left. Missiles streaked, plasma lances flared, torpedoes ripped through space. The resonance generators hummed until their frames cracked, amplifying the human's fury into a wave of sound and willpower that hammered the Queen's mind. Her vessel shuddered. Explosions rippled across its surface. Its carapace split, a glowing green ichor spilling into the void like the blood of a dying god. The Queen screamed into every mind at once. No, you are fragile. You are nothing. You are, her voice cut off. A final barrage of torpedoes, launched from the last surviving destroyer, punched into her exposed core. The colossal vessel ruptured, a green star blooming in silence. The Queen was gone. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. The galaxy itself seemed to hold still. Then, across worlds and colonies, a sound rose. First whispers, then shouts, then chants, echoing from system to system, as long as the heart beats. Humanity fights. The words of Earth had become the cry of the galaxy. In the council chambers, alien delegates sat stunned. Many had once mocked humanity as reckless, weak, fragile. Now, their eyes were filled with awe and something new fear. The Illyri Queen whispered, if they can defeat the Queen, what else are they hiding? The old Velen delegate bowed his head. Perhaps. Humanity was never the youngest of us. Perhaps they were the sharpest blade all along. Back on Earth, the skies glowed with auroras born of the great battle. Survivors staggered out of bunkers and shelters, looking upward. They knew their fleets had burned for this moment. They knew names like Vigilant, Resolute, Iron Dawn would be remembered forever. Children raised their voices, shouting the oath not in fear, but in pride. Humanity had not just survived it had led the galaxy into hope again. But in the darkness between stars, beyond the reach of the Council, whispers spread. If humanity could destroy the swarm's queen, what would stop them from rising higher? What fleets, what weapons, what hidden oaths still lay in the shadows of Earth? No one knew. Yet one truth was now carved into the heart of the galaxy. When all others surrendered, humanity refused. When all others lost hope, humanity endured. In the wreckage field, among drifting husks of ships, a single beacon pulsed faintly. It was not human. It was not swarm. It was something older. Something watching. And as the signal spread into the void, cold voice whispered, unheard by the galaxy, the humans are awake. Then the real war begins.